Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of TV Thursday. If you've been following along for the last few weeks, you know that I've been kind of doing like highlights of every season of The Office. And so that's continuing this week. We're up to Season 4 of The Office. And Season 4 was abbreviated because of the 2007-2008 writer's strike. So where I've been doing the 5 favorite episodes for the last couple seasons, I'm gonna just do it an abbreviated 3 episodes to kind of coincide with the 14 episode season that we got this year from the writer's strike. Fortunately, NBC was able to turn a lot of those episodes into hour-long episodes that they kind of saw the writer's strike was coming, so they kind of prepared as best they could to still get as much content from it was originally going to be a 30 episode season, I believe, and so they made do with the 14 that they got. So let's talk about 3 of my favorite episodes from season 4 of The Office. Number 1, money. Now this episode devotes a lot of time to the Michael-Jan relationship that had been blossoming early on this season and how truly destructive it was on Michael's finances. We learned that Jan's basically freeloading off of him. Michael's picked up a second job working on phone sales and being bad at it, which kind of goes against what we see elsewhere in the series of him being a phenomenal salesman. He's a terrible manager, but he's a phenomenal salesman. And here at the telemarketing company, he just kind of keeps dropping the ball. And part of it is, I imagine it's a different type of sales. He's floundering because he likes to get to know the client and kind of then make the sale, and the telemarketing is really kind of pushing him to just say the script, and he ad-libs too much. But it's affecting his work at Dunder Mifflin, so he basically has to quit that second job. He comes into the room at some point and says, "I declare bankruptcy." That's a classic moment of The Office before Oscar says, that doesn't really do anything, right? Yeah. But the real kicker here is throughout the episode, you also have a subplot where Jim and Pam are staying at Dwight's house for, he's treating it as a bed and breakfast, and so they decide to do that as a pseudo prank / night away. And they see in that exchange, Jim sees specifically how broken up Dwight is over the loss of his relationship with Angela, which happened earlier in the season, and how depressed Dwight is. And so the kicker really of this episode, and the highlight of it, is a beautiful, touching scene in the stairwell where Dwight is crying up against a wall, and Jim comes up to him and says, I left Scranton because I wasn't with Pam, and it was just too painful, and food didn't taste right. And he kind of goes on about how bad it was and how unbearable it was. And he says, "And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, and that includes you, Dwight." And it's just a beautiful, touching moment, and kind of I think maybe a very real turning point in their eventual friendship throughout the series. They're still going to continue being antagonistic, but here's one of the real touchstones of them humanizing that relationship between Jim and Dwight. And Jim immediately goes in after kind of having this real epiphany for himself maybe, and just plants one on Pam, very passionate kiss in the office, and just a great episode all around. Great, truly one of the most memorable moments of the entire series for me is that stairwell scene between Jim and Dwight. Episode 2, Dinner Party. Arguably one of the best, cringiest episodes of the entire series. Dinner Party has Michael tricking Jim and Pam into finally having to accept an offer to come have dinner with Michael and Jan. He kind of fakes this whole, we have to stay late because corporate's requiring this, and then he goes in and fakes a call to corporate where he says, shove it, we're not going to do this, I like these people, go have your Friday night, guys. Hey, Jim, you guys said you were free, right? Because we had this other thing. Come over. And so it's a wonderful little, trickery bit that you don't get to see all that much from Michael. The tour of the Janified condo is hilarious as we see Michael sleeps on a very small bench at the foot of the bed, like a dog. And his 2 most prized possessions in the house are his very, very tiny wall-mounted plasma TV and this atrocious hilariously bad neon sign of like a busty barmaid, and there's a ton of just hilarious awkwardness, and the whole dinner explodes in a fight between Jan and Michael, and it's underscored by Jan's former assistant Hunter singing "That One Night," and basically like an homage to presumably this night that Hunter and Jan spent together, probably taking Hunter's virginity that he went and then wrote a song about and did with his little band. And it's just so wonderfully bad and badly wonderful that it's one of my all-time favorite episodes, certainly, of the series. And lastly, this week, we have the season finale, Goodbye, Toby. Michael's dreams are coming true as Toby has announced that he's leaving Dunder Mifflin to go to Costa Rica. Michael can't contain his excitement, and he decides to throw in some extra funds to make the party a really extravagant going-away thing, including bringing in a Ferris wheel for the parking lot and for the attendees. He has to mask a little bit his like disdain of Toby in his exit interview because they bring in the new HR rep, and we get our debut of Holly Flax, who would, of course, be Michael's, soulmate in the entire series. And so he has to still, be professional with her taking part in the exit interview, so he doesn't get to really dig in the knives that he had sharpened for Toby. When Jim starts to see all of the extra oomph that's going into the party, he decides to throw in his own cash to Phyllis to get some fireworks because he's going to take the opportunity to propose to Pam. But of course, we have Andy stealing his thunder and proposing to Angela instead, and so we don't get that season-ending proposal of Jim and Pam that we were expecting, that the season had kind of been building towards. So there's a lot of great humor here. There's a lot of great tension in Michael trying to be joyous about Toby leaving, but also having to kind of keep it in a little bit so he doesn't, ruffle the feathers with Holly, who he kind of immediately has a little bit of an infatuation for because she's very much got his same kind of humor. And yeah, just a ton of fun. Great way to end the season, even if it was an abbreviated season. So those are some of my favorite episodes from Season 4 of The Office. Let me know what some of yours are in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at The Trove, treasure your friends.